Yo, what's going on, dudes? HK Titan here with a brand new video for you guys, and in today's video, we're going to be jumping back into the BTD6 map editor because I have some more inspiration and another map that I would like to create. So the map that I drew a little bit of inspiration from today is going to be from Pokemon. More specifically, Pallet Town. So over all of the countless number of Pokemon games that have been released, one of the staple towns in the Pokemon franchise is, of course, Pallet Town. So we have a couple of different options here. We have the Pallet Town from a Pokemon, I believe, a Fire Red and Leaf Green. And we also have a Pokemon, I think this is like a fan-made map. I have no idea what Pokemon game this one is from, but you guys can let me know in the comments below. So I'm going to be using like a little bit of inspiration from both. I think I want to use the trees from this Pokemon genre right here because we have trees that are similar to the pine trees here in the BT6 map editor. So I think it should be pretty easy to make these trees. Then I think I like the design of these buildings from this Pokemon a little bit more. So I'm going to try to create these buildings. So this is going to be quite the tall order, but I'm going to try to do the best I can. I don't know. I'll come up with a pretty cool design here in just a second. So the pathway, I'm going to go for this one. Let's just go ahead and get rid of this image here. So the pathway that I think I want to go for here is I want to use the same pathway that I used for the zoo because I think this would be a pretty cool pathway. I don't think there's any other pathways that would like look really good on this style of map. So I think this dark brown pathway would end up working out the best. It would be really nice if we had like a light green path that we could use, but unfortunately we aren't quite there yet. So maybe we'll get like a couple of different pathways in like the next update that we can go ahead and choose and do a little bit more customizations with our maps. So this is going to be the basic layout of our Pallet Town. So we'll have the balloons enter from up here. They'll come down here, do a S pattern out, and then they'll exit back up through the top of the map. And then for this side, it'll come all the way down and do another S pattern, and then they'll exit through the top as well. So I think it should be a pretty fun setup here. So like I was saying, the first thing we need to do is we need to clean this up just a little bit because right now it looks a little bit too wacky and wonky. So I'd be lying if I said I wasn't a little bit disappointed at how hard it is to actually make a perfectly square corner. I wish we could just like draw our own pathway. Drawing our own pathway would be so much easier, and we could actually make the like straight lines that we want and the cornered edges. But again, this is like the first time that Ninja Cubans add this to Bloons, so I'm not going to harp on it too much. We just have to do the best that we can with the tools that we have. All right, and I think this is going to be about as like straight as I can get them. Maybe just a little bit more to the left on the top here, and I think that should look pretty good. Like, yeah, there's a little bit of like issues with the corners, and of course it's a little bit wonky, but again, this is the best that we can do with the current version of the map editor. Now, the next thing I want to do is I want to add the two houses up here in these top two squares. And if you guys remember from the image, the houses have like a pointed slope, so I'm going to try to replicate the pointed slope by using a crate. Now, I don't know how well this will work out, but again, I want to give it a try. I don't think that looks right. Like, we have like the slope, but I mean, I don't know if I can fit like a doorway here. I mean, if I could fit a doorway, it would look a little bit better. Like, it would look like an actual house, right? So if I do this, like, we could have a doorway there, but I think it looks just a little bit too off. So let's try something else. All right, so we're going to use one of the basic houses, and then I'm going to try to add a little bit of flair. I don't think I'm going to be able to perfectly replicate the way that these houses look, but I do want to make them look like they have a little bit of a custom aspect to them. So one thing I think I could do to give them a little bit of a custom aspect is I can grab like a second house, and then I could go ahead and like shrink the size of the house, and then we could go ahead and like make it look like the house has like a little separate section here. I think that looks... it looks all right. And then we could do like the same thing and we'll have like the house protruding on the other side. I don't know, guys. Then we could go ahead and add like a fixture here to add a little bit more detail. We could add another little fixture, like a like a potted plant over here on the left-hand side. And then we'll just try to give it as much detail as we can. But first, let's go ahead and add the second house. So we'll add the second house over here. We'll go ahead and do the same thing that we did on this one. We'll just do it on the other side like so. Then we'll go ahead and shrink it down a little bit, and we'll add like a little bit of a wing over here just to give it a little bit of extra detail. All right, I think that looks all right. It doesn't look too bad. And then we'll add like a couple of flowers over here against the track here. So let's go ahead and look up at the potted plants really quick. Actually, let's not do the potted plants. Let's do this long bush row right here, and then we'll do it on the other side of the road as well. There we go. So we'll go ahead and do another one on this side of the road, and then this should take away from the jagged edges of the track. So let's go ahead and increase the size of the potted plant just a little bit like this. And we'll do the same thing on this side. And I think that looks really, really good. So we have like a little bit of an entranceway here. All right, now the next thing I want to do is I want to add a little bit of detail in front of the houses. So let's go ahead and move the house back a little bit to add a little bit of detail in front of the house to make it look like there's like a little walkway going towards the house. And for the walkway, I'm going to be using this prop right here, because this is the same prop that we used in the zoo for the concession area. So I thought this would look like really, really good as like a doorstep, I guess. Then we could go ahead and do this for both of them. Then it'll look like there's a little bit of an entranceway to both of these houses. Then because this is a town and we need to have stuff in front of the doorway, let's go ahead. We'll add like a bush over here on both of these houses, and then we'll add like a bench. Because, I mean, if you have a house and, like, you want to sit in front of your house, you will definitely have a bench. Or actually, you know what? Instead of using the bench, what if we went for and we made, like, a full porch? Like, if we use, like, a bunch of these, the same way that we use for the zoo, and then we do this in front of all of the houses, or in front of these houses, it'll look like there's like a little porch in front of both of these houses. And then we can add a plant after that. All right, dudes, so the creative juices are really flowing now. So I'm gonna make the patio extend over to the side of the house. And I'll put like a little umbrella. We'll put a bench on the side of the house. And I think that would look really, really cool as like a little bit of a patio. So I'll do this for this house. And then for this house, we'll do something a little bit different. All right, I think that looks pretty good for like an entrance and a patio. Now, the next thing we want to do is we want to add a little bit more detail. So we'll add like a bench, and we'll add a couple of plants on each side of the doorway here. So we have a little bit of a patio set up here. Now, the next thing I want to do is I want to fence in their yard. So I think by fencing in their yard, it'll add a little bit more of a custom aspect. And on top of that, not only will it add a custom aspect, but it will also make the map a little bit harder. All right, so here's a little bit of a fence feature going around the yard. Now, the next thing we want to do is we want to add a little bit more to the background here. So we could do that by adding some flowers, because right now it just looks a little bit bare. But if we add a couple of flowers, it should end up making it look a lot better. And before you say it, I know the flowers look absolutely massive compared to the actual house and stuff, but they're just big flowers. All right, so there is plenty of flowers on this side of the house. Let's go ahead and add a couple over here to add a little bit more of effect. I don't think I have enough space. What if I add like these ones? A couple of yellow flowers, not really gonna work out the way that I want it to, but we can add like a singular small white one. We could go ahead and add like a couple more like this. No, they're still not working out. Man, I wish Ninja Kiwi wouldn't have made it so like the placement for these flowers is random, because it's annoying to try and like get the correct placement. Because with the randomizer options, you either have like this setup, or you have the randomizer that will just like randomly pick a direction for the flowers to go. It makes customizing your maps a little bit harder. All right, and that should do it for the first house. Now let's start working on the second house. So for the second house is going to be a little bit different. I'm not going to add the patio. Instead, I'm going to add like a little bit of like a koi fish pond. Because, I mean, koi fish ponds are cool. All right, that little pond looks nice. And now, in order to add a little bit more of a custom aspect to it, we'll add a couple of lily pads and a couple of cattails, and then we'll add a tree over here. And I think that should do it for the customization for the second house. All right, so that should do it for the little koi fish pond. Now, unfortunately, I can't make the fish any smaller, because if I do, you can't see them. So unfortunately, we're going to have some giant fish in this koi fish pond. Now, for the tree that I'm going to be putting in the backyard here, I'm going to go ahead and make one of my custom trees, because I think a custom tree would fit a little bit better. So the only thing we need to do to make a custom tree is we need to add the prop 029. And then we'll make it a little bit bigger like this. And then we just need to find the leaves. Then after we find the leaves, we just need to reposition our leaves just a little bit, and then rotate it like this, then add a little bit more of an effect. There we go. And rotate it a little bit more. Then we'll make it a little bit bigger like this. And that's all we have to do to make our own custom tree. Now let's go ahead and add some flowers in the front yard, as well as a couple of shrubs around this tree to add a little bit more of an effect. All right, and that should do it. Just a couple of shrubs and nothing too crazy. Now let's go ahead and add the flowers to add a little bit more something to this very plain yard. And then because the front of the yard still looks a little bit plain, let's go ahead and we'll add maybe like either a box, or we'll add something to add a little bit something else to the front of the house. All right, so we added a little bit of a bush on the right hand side, and we added the box on the left hand side because they got a package from Amazon. Now we need to go ahead and make the next building. And the next building is going to be a little bit complicated because it's a square-shaped building with a chimney. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to perfectly replicate this house, but I'm going to give it my best shot. So the first thing that pops in my head is I want to try to add a custom aspect. So the custom aspect that we're going to go for, let's go ahead and we'll grab 2 boxes. Because, I mean, the building has a square shape. So if we use 2 boxes, we can get that square shape. But we need to do something else because, I mean, if we just add 2 boxes, it's going to look kind of lame. But if we add a couple of things that I have in mind, I think it should end up looking all right. So let's go with the darker boxes. Let's go ahead and make it a little bit bigger here because, I mean, it's kind of a big building. All right, so this is going to be the outline of the building. Now, the next idea that I had is if I grabbed another building like this, and then I went ahead and made it a little bit smaller, this could serve as like an entranceway. Like, it's not going to be the perfectly square building from Pallet Town, but I do want to have an entranceway, and this is the best way that I can think of to give it an entranceway. And then we'll go ahead and make it the entranceway a little bit bigger here to add a little bit more of an effect. I think this should look pretty good. Now, the next thing, or the next idea that I had is what if we made the siding on the front of the house a little bit different to add a little bit more of, again, a customization aspect from our side. So one thing I had in mind is using this bridge right here. If I used this bridge and I went ahead and I tilted it up on its side like this, and then we go ahead and change its direction like this. What if I put this up against the side of the wall? Would this look good? Let me see. We need to go ahead and turn it just a little bit more. That way it's like flush up against the wall. And then if we did this, I think this would look really, really cool because it'll be like its own like little building. Now, the color kind of clashes with the entranceway, but I do think it adds a little bit more of a custom aspect, which is what I'm going for. All right, there we go. It doesn't look perfect, but I think it looks all right. I wonder if I can use like the cactus here to add like a window. I don't know if it'll end up working out the way I want it to. No, it doesn't. The best I could do is like give it like a little bit of a, I don't even know what that is. No, we're not going to use the cactus. What else can I add here? Oh, dude, I know what I can add. Where is it? Where is it? The white fence. If I had a white fence, I turn it on its side like this, and then I go ahead and rotate it a little bit. Like, will this give it like a window vibe over here, or will it give it like a different vibe? It kind of does, but I think I need to increase the size a little bit, and then I need to rotate it just a touch. Does this look like a good window? It kind of does. I guess we'll use this. Wait, why did it just like pop out? We need to go a little bit further and a little bit further. All right, I don't know how it looks, but I mean, for like a basic look, I think it looks all right. Let me see. Let's rotate it just a touch more. All right, and we'll have the double windows because it's like a 2-story building. So I think that looks pretty good for like a makeshift window. I still add a couple windows on the other side as well. All right, there we go. And I think that looks all right for some makeshift windows. Guys, don't make fun of it too much. I know they don't look like perfect windows, but it's better than nothing, all right? Next thing, what if I add like another fence here? And oh no, I don't think it'll work. I was going to add like another fence here to add. Oh, it does work. Then we'll add like a couple of like boxes up top. I think that's about as much as I can get though, because I can't make the fences any bigger. Is there another thing that I can do to like add like a little bit of a chimney effect? They do have a lamppost, but I don't think the lamppost looks or has the vibe that I'm going for. Because ideally we could have a chimney, but I don't think it's gonna go the way that I want it to go. And why is this on top of the building? That's weird. This is actually the first time I've actually had something like actually land on top of the building. What if I add a tire? What if I added a tire? I went ahead and did this. I make it bigger. The tire is not big enough. All right, never mind. The tire isn't gonna work. Next thing that we can try, let's try this lamppost. If we make this lamppost a little bit bigger, I guess it kind of looks like a chimney. If we put this like right here, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to click it again. Where is the thing for the fence? Oh, dude, I think I just messed up. Am I gonna? There we go. All right. Let's go ahead and move this. I think that's I finally had a good idea, but now that that fence is there, there's the fence. All right, let's move the fence out, and then we'll replace it with this. It's not perfect, but it does add a little bit of a chimney vibe. And then instead with this, we'll pull it over here. Let's go ahead and rotate it. That's not what I meant by rotate. I meant rotate it like this. Oh, never mind. That's not gonna work. All right, let's go ahead and get rid of that. And then we'll go ahead and add like a second fence post over here. Make it a little bit bigger. And then it looks like there's a double chimney on top. The only thing I need to do is I need to line it up a little bit better. So if I click off of this, it's going to be hard to click back on. So for a double chimney, I think that looks all right. Can I add something else over here to make it a little bit more like building, like professional building wise? Maybe I can add this. If I add this, I think it's just a little bit too big. But I can add a little bit of an effect on top here. But I don't like the way that looks. We'll go for something else. If nothing else, I think that's the best that we can do with our current customization option. So instead of focusing on the top of the building, let's just go ahead and add some customization in front. All right, so we have like a little walkway in the front here, and then let's go ahead, we'll add some bushes along the pathway here because this is like the main building in the entire village. So if we add a couple of bushes along this path here, I think it would look really, really good. And then we can add a couple of our custom-made trees to kind of like take away from like how awkward this building looks. All right, there we go. I think that looks a lot better. Now the only thing left to do is to add a couple of flowers over here to add a little something to the ground. That way it doesn't look so plain. All right, and I think that looks pretty good. For like a custom-made building, I don't think that looks half bad. Now, the next thing we need to do, we need to go ahead and open up this again. Now, the next thing we want to do is we want to add this little flower garden here. So the flower garden shouldn't be too hard for us to actually make. But because we are adding a bunch of custom aspects to this, I'll probably end up adding a little bit of my own pizzazz. So according to the picture, this is what the basic flower garden looks like in Pallet Town. I think for what we had to work with, I think it turned out pretty all right. But like I was saying, I want to add my own pizzazz because right now it looks a little bit too basic. So in order to make it look a little bit less basic, I'll go ahead and add a couple of my custom-made trees. So I think I'll add like 3 of my trees in the back here. And then we'll add a couple of flowers in the front here. And that should end up working out pretty well. All right. And I think that looks pretty good for my own custom-made garden. Now, the next thing we need to do, we need to add the outer edges of the village. So the only thing we need to do to add the outer edges of the village is we need to go ahead and, let me see. We need to go ahead and add some trees around the outside. Then we also need to add a water effect, and we need to add some more fences along the bottom of the map, which this shouldn't be too hard to add. All right, so there's the water feature at the bottom of the map, and now we need to add this little sand little bit here. Then we need to add a couple of fences. We need to add one fence here as well as this sign. And I think that should about do it besides, of course, all the trees. All right, so we added the sand feature down here at the bottom. I think it turned out pretty all right. We just need to add a couple of flowers here at the bottom as well. And then after we get done with the flowers, we just need to add the trees and then a couple of shade effects. And then we will officially be done with this map. All right, dudes, and that should do it for our interpretation of Pallet Town. So again, the tracks are a little bit wonky. I tried my best to like cover up some of the imperfections. So I think it turned out pretty decent. I don't know, guys. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think of my interpretation of Pallet Town in Bloons TD6. Again, here is a picture of like their rendition of Pallet Town, and then of course here is mine. All right, now the last thing we need to do is of course go through and test our track to make sure it's actually beatable. But before we do that, we need to go ahead and choose the music. I'm gonna go ahead and choose what if we do the BMC Street Party? I mean, you can't really beat the BMC Street Party. It's just such a good track. All right, so now that we've done all that, let's go ahead and jump into an actual game. So this shouldn't be too hard of a map. I mean, look at all the balloons. They're coming in staggered. That looks so cool. All right, let's go ahead and upgrade our Dart Monkey a little bit more. Oh man, our Dart Monkey's getting that Pierce action going. It looks like we do have a couple of effects here that I didn't want. But I mean, what can we really do? I have no idea why our Dart Monkey's line of sight is being blocked here. I don't know if it's because of the trees. It might be because of the trees. The trees may actually end up blocking a couple of our towers here, but it should be all right. Next thing we want to take a look at is where can we actually place towers? Looks like we can place a couple of towers over here in the trees. That wasn't intended, but I mean, it'll add for a little bit of a challenging aspect. If you guys want to like place a sniper over here, that would be pretty cool. It looks like we can't place any towers underneath these trees. We can place a couple of towers by these buildings, but they won't be too effective. But if we want to place like a Benjamin here, a Benjamin will work out pretty well. And then I think, okay, so if we place like a tower here at the start of the track, it can infect balloons as well. So it should be a pretty challenging map in some areas. I wonder how hard this would be on Chimp. But for the most part, guys, this map turned out a little bit better than I was expecting. But again, guys, let me know in the comments below what you guys think of my rendition of Pallet Town. I think it turned out all right, but of course, I'm going to be a little bit objective because I just spent like the last hour and a half trying to make this map myself. I guess if I were to compare this to any map, I think I would kind of compare this to Cornfield, because similar to Cornfield, we only have like one square where we can actually place like towers. We do have a couple of spots where we can place more towers, but like the main portion of the track where we can actually place towers is going to be this little square right here. We can also place towers down here, but these fences do end up blocking a lot of our towers. So it's not going to be like a really good idea to place towers down here. Honestly, I don't even know if I can place like a banana. Oh, we can place a banana farm here. That's kind of cool. So we can do like a little bit of banana farming down here. We can't place down too many banana farms, but that should be all right. Let's go ahead. We'll add ourselves a wizard monkey, because the wizard monkey works really well in being able to see through objects. So if we go with like an arcane mastery, it should end up helping us out a lot. We also need some form of camera detection. Let's go ahead. We'll grab ourselves a dragon's breath. Oh no. Well, sorry, we didn't lose too many lives there. Let's grab ourselves a dragon's breath in the front of the map here. That way we don't need to worry about lead balloons. All right, now the next thing I want to do, I should have bought an alchemist sooner. So we'll grab ourselves an alchemist in the back of the map here, and then we'll upgrade it up to stronger acid with perishing potions, and then we'll buy berserker brew, and that should help us out a lot with lead balloons, as well as it should buff all of these towers. Man, again, I think this map would be pretty challenging on Chimps mode, because you would have to come up with a way to deal with all of the balloons, as well as you would have to use some pretty strong towers. And I don't even know what towers you would go for with this. Maybe like an Archmage or something along those lines. Oh, we could use a Dartling Gunner down here. Then the Dartling Gunner would be able to shoot all the way down on the track. I think a Dartling Gunner would work really well. All right, let's go ahead and buy stronger stimulant, and then we'll also grab ourselves another sharpshooter. Then, of course, we only have the Moab balloon to deal with on round 40. Man, using Benjamin is kind of a cheat. Oh no, I just realized, like, this platform here is touching the track. Oh well. But anyways, dudes, again, I think the Pallet Town BTD6 version ended up turning out pretty well. And of course, the last thing we need to do, we need to rename this map over to Pallet Town. And then, of course, we need to share. So if you guys want to play this map for yourself, here is the map code. But anyways, dudes, that's going to do it for the video. If you guys enjoyed, make sure you guys hit that like button, and I'll see you, dudes, in the next one.